It is Dynasty rookie mock draft time. It's that time of the year to start diving into these rookies, doing some rookie drafts for you Dynasty players. A quick note here, if you love Dynasty football, which I'm sure you do if you're watching this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're going to be putting out Dynasty content, rookie scouting stuff, mock drafts, Dynasty price checks, all of that stuff. We're going to be putting out a lot over the offseason. So make sure to subscribe, help us get to 800 subscribers. Join our Discord. Link is in the description. If you want to maybe start some new Dynasty leagues together, make sure to do that. It is free. And a couple disclaimers before we get started here. This is December 11th that I'm recording this. This is a 2-round Dynasty Superflex mock draft. A lot can still change, obviously, from December 11th to when the NFL draft happens. A lot can change. Most of these guys, their seasons are done. However, for those teams that are in the NCAA playoffs, college football playoffs, I think a lot of them are going to play. So just keep that in mind. We don't even know everyone, if all these guys are going to be declaring or not. So a lot can change. Also, my rookie scouting process has just started. So I haven't gone in depth on a lot of these guys. So just kind of a disclaimer there. And lastly this is based off a 3-round mock draft released by PFF about a week ago by Trevor Sikkema. So I'll leave the link in the description to that if you want to check this out. So this is kind of mock landing spots. So with the 101, again, this is a Superflex rookie 2-round mock draft. With the 101 pick, I am taking Cam Ward. By the way, I will be doing these on Sleeper when they put the rookies into the system. I think they do it in February at some point. So when they actually put the rookies in the system, we can use Sleeper as that mock draft. But for now, we just have to use some graphics. Cam Ward coming in at 101 is mocked to go to the New York Giants. Actually, there's 2 quarterbacks that go in the top 3 picks. By the way, I'm kind of leaving Travis Hunter out of this for now, not really knowing where he's going to play, if he's going to be a wide receiver or cornerback or both, maybe cornerback and playing some snaps at receiver. So I'm just kind of leaving him out for now, without really knowing where he's going to play. But Cam Ward actually goes 103 to the Giants. He's my 101 here. Shedeur Sanders, who we'll talk about next, is going 102 to the Raiders. So it's interesting. It's going to be very interesting for me to kind of dive into these 2 quarterbacks. These seem like they're going to be the top 2 picks at the quarterback position, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I lean slightly in Cam Ward, especially if he goes to the Giants versus Shedeur Sanders going to the Raiders. I think I just trust the Giants more as an organization to put together a competent team around him. They have Malik Neighbors, you have Tyrone Tracy, Theo Johnson. I know the Raiders have Brock Bowers and stuff, but I would take Cam Ward here over Shedeur Sanders again on December 11th before I really dive into the tape here. He has the arm to be the NFL guy. Can he put it all together? I don't know. I'm also interested, by the way, Shedeur Sanders is my 102. Does go 102 to the Raiders. I am interested to see like where these guys would fall in comparison to this last year's quarterbacks and where they went. I get my early gut instinct is both these quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, the top 2 guys, would have been behind obviously Caleb, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. Now, where do they fall when comparing them to J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, and Bo Nix? I don't know. I'll be interested to kind of figure that out as the process goes along. But my first 2 picks in the Dynasty rookie Superflex mock draft are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And for a lot of people talking about, this draft class is not as deep as other ones and things like that, in this mock draft that PFF released, the first 4 picks are fantasy players. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Wide receivers, quarterbacks, and wide receivers and quarterbacks, if you count Travis Hunter, who goes 101, by the way. Ted McMillan comes in at the 103. There's kind of 2 receivers that seem to have separated themselves as the top 2 guys. It's Ted McMillan and Luther Burden. My lean is Ted McMillan. We'll see if that changes, but I think I like Ted McMillan more. And honestly, if there's going to be a player that goes before any of the quarterbacks here and is the number 1 player overall ahead of the quarterbacks, it is Ted McMillan. This could be a year, kind of like the Bijan year, where the quarterbacks don't go number one overall. And actually the wide receiver or running back does. It depends on how good these quarterbacks are projected to actually be, right? If someone was to go over them, I would put Ted McMillan over them. You see the numbers there: 84 catches, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns at Arizona. Did have kind of like, I think we were expecting a little bit better of a year for him, but he had a couple massive games. I think he had like a 300-yard performance in week 1. And things like that. So he's a big receiver. He's 6'5", 212. He kind of fits that more of that old school mold of a receivers, the 6'5", 212. He's not a burner, but he should run in the low 4.5s or high 4.4s. And he's just an awesome player to watch. So Ted McMillan here. I still value the quarterbacks in Superflex over them because if they hit, they're going to be much more valuable than a wide receiver. There's seemingly top tier wide receivers that come out every single year. Ashton Jeanty, you guys have probably heard about him, even if you don't watch a lot of college football. Ashton Jeanty here had a massive year. By the way, they're going to be playing in the college football playoffs, so those numbers are going to go up for Boise State. And hopefully, knock on wood, nothing happens to Jeanty. I have him at the 104 right here in the Dynasty rookie mock draft. He goes 113 to the Cowboys. The landing spot's great. The draft capital is great. He's a first-round pick at the running back. A lot of people think he will fall to the first round to a team like the Cowboys, a team like the Chargers, both really good landing spots. You see the eye-popping numbers there. Almost 2,300 rushing yards with 100 receiving yards and 30 touchdowns almost. The guy put up one of the best college running back seasons we've ever seen. And it'll be interesting to see if he does go in the first round. I think he will. A lot of people have him as like one of their best prospects in the entire draft. He can run in the low 4.4s. He has pretty good size at 5'9", 215, so he's thick. He runs in the low 4.4s. Really good. He's just a workhorse guy. He's a workhorse guy, and if he gets good draft capital, there's going to be people in some drafts that take him number 1 overall. I guarantee it. I would still have him behind Ted McMillan, assuming Ted McMillan, by the way, I didn't even mention Ted McMillan went 104 to the Patriots, so he gets top 5 draft capital into a good spot with Drake May. I would still take Ted McMillan over Jeanty if Ted McMillan is going in the top 10. I'd still take the quarterbacks just because, again, they're more valuable in a super flex league. But Ashton Jeanty here going to the Cowboys is a pretty nice landing spot. And then I have Luther Burden. I feel fairly confident, guys, that these are going to be the top 5 picks. If I had to put money on it, I'd be comfortable putting, okay, these are the top 5 picks in most fantasy drafts. Is it possible that someone sneaks into it? Of course it is, but I feel fairly confident that these are the top 5 picks: Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Ted McMillan, Ashton Jeanty, and Luther Burden. Now, Luther Burden here, he had a down year compared to our expectations. There was people talking about Luther Burden being a potential Heisman Trophy winner at Missouri. You see the numbers there for Luther Burden. Not great when you're just thinking about, why is this guy so high up? 61 catches, 676 yards, 6 touchdowns. He also had 9 carries for 115 yards, and I added that in there just because it just shows you his explosiveness. You get the ball in his hands, and he's awesome. I don't really think that his fall off, by the way, in 2023, Luther Burden had 86 catches, 1,200 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So we are expecting, Heisman Trophy potential type of stuff here. The numbers fell off. I don't really relate that to Luther Burden himself, more in the change of offense for Missouri. I don't think his talent is gone. And I think the 9 carries for 130 yards kind of shows that a little bit. Like, the ball in his hands, this guy's awesome. He's a little bit more of a new age type of receiver here. In that he's smaller. He's 5'11", 440. So it's 5'11", runs a 4.4, 210 pounds. It shows the kind of the juxtaposition between, we have the old school Ted McMillan, 6'5", 212, versus more of the new school, the 5'11", 210 type of guy, the fast guy versus maybe the contested catch guy. So it'll be interesting to see here where Luther Burden goes. He goes 121 to the Commanders here, which I love as a landing spot for Luther Burden. I know Terry McLaurin's there. Terry McLaurin is a little bit older. I think he's already 28, 29 years old. But that being said, he gets paired with a good quarterback, and 2 wide receivers can flourish in that system. So to me, this is going to be the top 5. Could it change? Of course. This is my order of where we stand in December 11th. Next up, I have Jalen Milroe, 106 in the Superflex League. He goes actually in the second round to the Jets. You see the numbers there. He is, if there is a cheat code at the quarterback position, meaning guys that can give you huge rushing production, which is kind of what we care about for fantasy, it is Jalen Milroe. You see the numbers: 2,600 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 700 rushing yards with 20 rushing touchdowns. He will be a bit of a project here, I think. He will be a bit of a project. He might not start year 1. He might be better off kind of sitting, at least for the first half of year 1, which is fine. Here he goes to the Jets. We don't know what's going to go on with the Jets situation here. Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Is it going to be someone else? Do they draft someone? But Jalen Milroe, if there's a cheat code at the quarterback position, I don't know if Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are going to give you much of a rushing floor. I think they can move, but I don't know how much of a rushing. They didn't really rush much in college. Now, that being said, Justin Fields also didn't rush much in college, and we see what Justin Fields turned into. Can Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders be like that? Maybe. But if I had to put money on someone, it's going to be Milroe, and that's going to boost his value, even if we don't think of him as a great quarterback prospect. If a team's going to give him a couple years there, like they did with Jalen Hurts, to give him a chance, and he's going to be rushing, he's going to be rushing all of these, all these rushing yards and touchdowns and things like that. That's all we care about for fantasy football. If you give us elite fantasy production, even for a short stretch, we like that. He's 6'2", 225, so he's a bigger build at the quarterback position. Next up at the 107, I have Emeka Egbuka. Emeka Egbuka here. I think I added a G to his name there, and I didn't mean to. But Emeka Egbuka, who a lot of people thought was going to come out last year. He had a bit of a down year last year, which is why I don't think he came out. But Emeka Egbuka, and I did add an extra G in his name there, in this mock draft goes 201, so he's the first pick of the second round to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which I like. If they get the right coach in there, offensive mind, to turn Trevor Lawrence around, and now you have Brian Thomas and Emeka Egbuka, I think that's a pretty good situation here. It'll be interesting to see if Emeka Egbuka, if his draft stock goes up, because the pure numbers not quite there, right? 60 catches. Now, again, I haven't looked at like what that is percentage-wise compared to the team's passing offense. That will be coming later. But, just the raw numbers there: 60 catches, 750 yards, 9 touchdowns. His year in 2022, his sophomore year, he had 74 for 1150 and 10. And people were thinking, holy crap, this is going to be the next Ohio State top 10 pick. And then 2023, he had a bit of a down year. 2024, it was better, but maybe not quite as good as, his 2022 season, which is always a little bit of a concern. When guys have really good years in their first or second year in college, and then they don't ever improve on it, they actually regress from it. It makes me a little bit nervous. Yeah. So just something to keep an eye on there. But I love the draft capital. Still think he can be a first round pick. So Emeka Egbuka is my 107 here. And then my 108, I have Colston Loveland, who is either him or another player here are going to be the first tight ends. Colston Loveland seems to be the better receiving tight end between him and the other one, which we'll get to here. Went to Michigan. You see the numbers there: 56 catches, 582 yards, and 5 touchdowns. In 2023, he had 45 for 650 and 650 and 4. And just so you guys know, because I know those numbers are not very eye-popping, he led Michigan by almost over double, right? Michigan threw for double the next guy. He had 582. The next leading receiver on Michigan had 250. Michigan threw for 1,600 passing yards this year. Colston Loveland had almost 600 of them, right? He had over 30% of their passing production, which is insane. So Michigan, a run first offense this year, and kind of in years past. Colston Loveland is, if anyone's going to be Brock Bowers or Sam Laporta, it's potentially going to be Loveland here. And I think people, are going to see the first round draft capital to the Broncos, who, he gets a good quarterback. He goes on a team where, there's no clear cut receiver dominant. I know Cortland Sutton's there, but maybe Cortland Sutton's gone next year. And who do they have outside of there? I don't know. Maybe it becomes the tight end position. I don't know. Colston Loveland, especially in tight end premium, should bump up a little bit, right? Should bump up a little bit. But I have here Colston Loveland at the 108. By the way, I feel fairly confident in the top. I told you in the top 5. And I feel pretty good about those top 7 picks. And then maybe top 8. And then it starts to get a little bit sketchy here. But I have Mario Hampton, the second running back off the board, who's going in this draft, in this mock draft, 202 to the Raiders. You see the numbers there. Huge numbers. Over 1,600 rushing yards, almost 40 catches, and almost 375 receiving yards. So we're talking about a guy that had over 2,000 total yards and 17 touchdowns on almost 40 catches. By the way, 40 catches is great for a college running back. Mario Hampton, you can make an argument, is a better complete back than Ashton Jeanty. I think Ashton Jeanty goes first overall, which is going to give him the lean in most Dynasty rookie drafts. But I think you can make an argument that Mario Hampton could be a little bit more of a complete running back. He has a little bit better of a size, 6 foot, 220 versus 5'9", 215. I think he's just as fast as Ashton Jeanty as well. So there's an argument to be made, I think. I still think Jeanty's better, but I will like to look into the film here. Some people are saying Jeanty's like a generational talent, and Mario Hampton, is just a really solid player. I love the landing spot here to the Raiders. They have Madison. I don't know. I think it was just a 1-year deal. Zamir White doesn't seem to be the guy. Maybe Sincere McCormick is, but you draft a guy like Mario Hampton and you pair him with Shedeur Sanders and Brock Bowers, like you could turn the Raiders offense around a little bit. So I'm going to go Mario Hampton here at the 109. At the 110, I have Isaiah Bond, who is a fringe first round pick for people. I'm interested with Isaiah Bond, like what his ceiling is for fantasy and watching him more. He's a burner. If anyone's going to break Xavier Worthy's 40-yard dash time, it's Isaiah Bond. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's going to run in the 4.2s, Isaiah Bond. He's a smaller receiver, though, 5'11", 180. Is he just a burner? I don't know. By the way, he did get hurt. He did leave the game here. I actually need to look that up. He left the game where Texas was playing Georgia. So I need to check if he actually got injured or not. I know he left that game a little bit. So keep an eye on that. He was walking in a boot. But Isaiah Bond, he's a field stretcher kind of player, right? In 2023 as a sophomore at Alabama, by the way, 48 catches, 668 yards, 4 touchdowns this year, 33, 532 for a 16.1 average, 5 touchdowns. He was used down the field. And those guys are nice and they're necessary for offenses in the NFL. And teams are going to value those guys maybe a little bit more than we value them as fantasy players. I'm interested to see, is Isaiah Bond, is he just kind of like a deep threat field stretcher guy, or can he develop more into a complete receiver? As of now, he goes to the Titans. Okay landing spot there. I take him at the 110 here, but that could definitely change. I could see him falling into more of a second-round pick in Dynasty rookie drafts. At the 111, I have Kaleb Johnson, another running back. The running backs guys are really good. They're really good in this draft class. I have 3, I believe. Yeah, I have 3 going in the first round here. Kaleb Johnson of Iowa, another player who seemingly is a complete back. Over 1,700 total yards and 23 touchdowns. By the way, 23 catches for an Iowa running back is pretty damn impressive. He's 6 foot 225, so he's another bigger one. He's not as fast as JT or Hampton, but he's a bigger back, right? That can probably be a workhorse, in my opinion. I think he can be. I think he can develop into a 3-down back. I really do. I mean, 23 catches or 22 catches for Iowa. It's pretty damn impressive. I'm going to look it up right now and where that falls. That's 3rd on the team. Iowa's another team. Their leading receiver guys had 382 yards. They passed for they passed for 1,580 yards. That means Kaleb Johnson had almost 200 of those. For a running back, that's pretty impressive to have. Quick math here. About 12% of your team's passing offense as a running back. It just, they didn't throw for much. So Kaleb Johnson at the 111 goes to the Chargers in the second round. We love that landing spot. We'll see. Is J.K. Dobbins there? Is Gus Edwards? He's getting older. Is Kamani Vidal the real thing? Maybe it's Kaleb Johnson. Maybe it's Kaleb. And by the way, Harbaugh played against him in college, so he knows how good he is. To round out the first round, guys, I have Tyler Warren, the other tight end, actually goes before Colston Loveland. Tyler Warren's been coming on this year. He goes 115 overall. 15th overall to the Colts. I'm taking him here with the last pick of the first round. Look at those numbers: 81 catches, 978 yards, 10 touchdowns. He also has 21. Sorry, I typed there. 23 carries for 191 yards. I think that was updated from their game yesterday. So he's like, you see the versatility here. He led them in receiving yards. By the way, he's over 1,000 now. He led them in receiving yards. He was also gave them almost 200 yards on the ground. Like, the dude is a beast. Now, the reason why I have Colston Loveland over him, and this may change, keep in mind that we're on December 11th. The reason I have Colston Loveland over him is I think Warren is a little bit more of a complete tight end. And he's going to do a lot more blocking, and that may slow down his receiving ability, at least in the beginning, because teams are going to value that blocking. I do think he has a chance to go over Loveland, but just something to note there. Like, he is such a good blocker that I think you have to be careful with, do they use him more as a blocker in the beginning of the year? But I could move him up over Loveland, and I wouldn't be surprised. Into the second round, guys, and again, a lot of these guys, a lot is going to change here. Elick Iomanor, I think is how you say it, went to Stanford. You see the numbers there: 63 catches, 830 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Stanford has not been very good as of late, but people really like Elick Iomanor. They like the size, the 6'2", 210. He's going to run in the low 4.4s. He goes to the Panthers here, who they need to find receivers. Maybe they have Leggett, but who do they have for sure outside of that? I don't know. Not Vele. I'm trying to remember the other undrafted guy that's not coming to my mind right now, but they don't have like an established receiving core there. So there's the opportunity for him going to the Panthers. So I put him at the 201 here. I'm going to fly through the second round just a little bit faster here. Quinshon Judkins, who a lot of people had as their number one running back coming into the 2024 college season. He was a stud at he played at Ole Miss, right? He played at Ole Miss, and he was awesome. He's another guy, though, that his best year, in my opinion, came his freshman year. His freshman year, he had 1,700 total yards, 17 touchdowns. He caught 15 passes. He averaged 5.7 yards per carry. The next year at Ole Miss, 1,300 total yards, 17 touchdowns, 22 catches, averaging 4.3 yards per carry. And then this year at Ohio State, you see the numbers there. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry. They had 800 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. Now, he was splitting the backfield with someone else who's going to be on this list, by the way. So keep that in mind. Travion Henderson, who's another top-tier back. He was splitting here. I still believe in Quinshon Judkins, could be the best running back or one of the better running backs in this draft class. He goes to the Browns at 208, which I think is an amazing situation because he's going to get playing time year one because they use multiple running backs, but he doesn't have to be the guy, because Nick Chubb can kind of like hand over the torch kind of thing in maybe his last year of Cleveland. 203, I have Xavier Restrepo, and I see Restrepo here listed for some people as like the number 2 wide receiver for them. He's 5'10", 198, so he's a little bit more of this smaller archetype type of player, but the numbers don't lie there. I mean, 69 catches, nice, 1,127 yards, 11 touchdowns. He's going to the Steelers in this mock draft. He's had back-to-back productive years at Miami. A little bit of the older side. He's been playing college since 2020, so 5 years, but a little bit on the older side there. but I think he's a very good prospect. He goes to the Steelers, who, again, they have George Pickens, and how long is that going to last, by the way? He has George Pickens, but who else? Roman Wilson, who we didn't see anything from him this year. So we don't know what Roman Wilson is. Calvin Austin, he's a nice burner, but that's about it. So there's a room for the second wide receiver here for the Steelers, and maybe it's Restrepo, who, again, a lot of people have as like their top 3 wide receiver prospect. Moving into the 204 guys, we have TreVeyon Henderson, the other Ohio State running back here. He goes in the 3rd round to the Ravens. And this is the part of the draft where you don't always have to follow draft capital. Once we get into like the mid to late 2nd round and 3rd round of the real NFL draft, players taken there, you can reach on guys that you like. Trust me. Ravens going to the Ravens in the 3rd round. I think this is an amazing landing spot for him. I don't expect much from him year 1 because they still have Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry is older. Do they mix in TreVeyon Henderson more? And again, TreVeyon Henderson was considered one of the best running backs kind of heading into this year over the last couple of years. That kind of fell off a little bit, which is why he came back to college potentially. His freshman year, he was awesome. 1,500 total yards and 19 touchdowns. Never got close to those numbers again. But TreVeyon Henderson, I believe that the talent is still there, and so do a lot of other people. He's going to be fast. He runs in the high 4.3s. So TreVeyon Henderson is my 204. Jack Beck, and this is where I'm really starting to not know a lot about these guys, but Jack Beck here, going to the Giants at the in the 2nd round. You see the numbers there. I like Jack Beck in the sense of I think he complements Malik Neighbors quite well, and he's a bigger receiver, 6'2", 215. So I think he just really complements Malik Neighbors. You don't have to be the number 1 guy there. Neighbors can take the attention. He's a good contested catch guy. He has good size, reliable hands. So I think he just really complements Malik Neighbors there. And if they do truly get a quarterback in Cam Ward, then I like the upside for Jack Beck here. At the 206, I have Dylan Sampson, another running back, going to the Chiefs at the end of the 2nd round here. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what about Pacheco? A lot of times when you get these undrafted guys, I know they like Pacheco a lot, but, will he kind of burn bright and fast? I don't know. That maybe they combine Dylan Sampson with him. I think Dylan Sampson's a solid receiving back. He was very productive at Tennessee there. It's not the greatest landing spot, I'll be honest, because I do think Pacheco is a good player, but there could be room for multiple guys like there was with Jerick McKinnon back there. His speed and burst is insane, Dylan Sampson. He's 5'11", 190. So, I don't think he's a true workhorse running back, but his speed and burst is amazing. He's going to run in the mid 4.3s potentially. Maybe he can develop into a workhorse guy, but he'll have to put on some more weight. I just think there's so much that can change with running backs. Him going to the Chiefs, I don't mind it here in the mid 2nd round. Drew Allar, a quarterback. Don't forget about the quarterbacks. Now, he's going in the 3rd round to the Browns, which is an interesting spot here because he won't have to start year 1, whether it's Deshaun Watson or Jameis Winston, I don't know, but he can sit for a year. He's super accurate, or his touchdown to interception ratio is very, very low year after year. This year, he threw 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. The year before, 25 and 2. He doesn't have these gaudy numbers. That's not who Penn State is, but he can run the ball as well. He has 225 rushing yards. 279. That means he ran for over 50 yards in their game against Georgia. No, I can't remember now who Penn State played. Oregon, right? Was it Oregon? I think it was. In their game against Oregon this last weekend. He can move a little bit, so I like Drew Allar in that sense. Maybe he can give you Bo Nix type of rushing production here. It's more of a long-term thing because, again, I don't see him starting year 1. A lot of people are all over the place about Drew Allar, but he does have the size. He's 6'5", 240, and that's still the size we covet at the quarterback position. A few more picks here. The 208, I have Kyren Lacy, wide receiver, going to the Saints, taken in the 3rd round, has 58 catches, 866 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Kyren Lacy here, another LSU receiver who they seemingly put these guys out each and every year. People are, again, all over the place about him. I do think he's kind of he has a lot of tools. He's a little bit bigger. He's 6'2", He's 6'2", 213. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. But I just think like he can really be the perfect wide receiver 2 for a team. And that's what he would profile for the Saints, pairing up with Chris Olave. And I think him on a good offense as the wide receiver 2 is like the most ideal position for him. At the 209, we have Trey Harris. Trey Harris here, 60 catches, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns, going to the Eagles, which isn't a great landing spot, but the talent for this guy, I've seen people have him as their wide receiver 3 in this draft class. So the talent and the upside for him is through the roof. And so much could change here. Who knows if AJ Brown, how much longer he's with the Eagles or Devontae Smith or whatever. I know they're not a huge pass volume guy, but Trey Harris, I think he is like the perfect X move the chains type of receiver. He may make his money in the red zone here. He has the size. He's 6'3", 210. So Trey Harris going to the Eagles, not a great landing spot, but I still like the talent. So I'll take him here at the end of the second round. Gunnar Helm, and a tight end here. Gunnar Helm for Texas. He was playing behind Jatavian Sanders for all those couple of years. So he didn't really do much until this year. 50 catches, 600 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's a little bit more of the kind of that Y tight end, meaning he's not going to be that inline tight end, in my opinion, where, he's going to be, blocking and coveted for his blocking ability. He has good size, so he can still put on more weight and maybe develop into a good blocker, but he's 6'5", 240. He's not the fastest. Yeah, could he be a blocking tight end? Potentially if he puts on some weight. But look at those numbers, man. 48 catches, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns. Those are good numbers. Those are really good numbers in there. So, maybe he develops into a good blocker and he becomes that inline tight end. We will see. He does go to the Falcons, which maybe is, RIP to Kyle Pitts. Jalen Royals going to the Lions in the end of the third round. Not technically the last pick because there's comp picks there, but Jalen Royals from Utah State, he's 6 foot 205, and he runs fast. He runs in the high 4.3s. He's just raw athleticism is how I describe this guy. He could be a burner. Now, unfortunately, he reminds me a little bit of like Jameson Williams, to be honest. But he's a raw wide receiver burner. Goes to the Lions. I don't know what that means, but there is opportunity for the Lions. They have Jameson Williams, fine. You obviously have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but not much else after that. And then to finish up here, guys, at the 212, Bashawn Tootin, I think is how you're saying. Bashal Tootin. I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with him. Running back for Virginia Tech. Running back for Virginia Tech here. You see the numbers, 1,160 rushing yards, 23 catches, 81 yards there. Again, went to Virginia Tech. I think he could be a sneaky, if he falls in this mock draft, he goes to the Lions again, which is, again, a good landing spot. But I think if he falls to the 4th, 5th round, he could be a sneaky value pick. He is incredibly fast. He is 5'11", 210. He runs a 4.32. He has some intriguing things about him. It's just going to depend on draft capital a little bit, and he may be a sneaky pick in your dynasty rookie drafts if he falls and people aren't paying attention to him. So remember the name, Bashal Tootin. I don't know a whole lot about him, so I am interested to get more into him. But that is all I have for you guys. I appreciate you all very, very much. Again, if you like Dynasty content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And more content to be coming out. I appreciate you all, and I will see you all very, very soon.